Shannon Sharpe. This is the part that I really wanted to have a conversation with y'all about because it's important for us to have the right relationships in our lives. As you just seen, I can make a phone call to any of my people and say, yo, let's do business together. And they're going to be like, all right, bet. End of the conversation. End of the conversation. Shannon Sharpe, by all reports that's happening outside of what's happening out here, Shannon Sharpe is leaving Undisputed. It hurt my heart when I heard that. It hurt my heart when I heard that because Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless is quite possibly, now that they off the thing, some stuff that I got being put together is going to be fire. I have some stuff that's about to be being put together that is fire. Shout out to all of my people out in these streets. I'm hunting for the people that really, really understand sports, not y'all fake sports gurus out here, but people that truly understand all sports. I got some fire coming for y'all, but it's going to be awesome. All right. But yeah, Shannon Sharpe is allegedly leaving Undisputed. All right. So it was some pundits that had some thoughts and some perspective about that. But I want to give y'all the general summary of what's happening before we really, really get into it. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. I'm definitely going to be reading super chats throughout the show. Continuing. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen.
Ryan, straight up, what happened here? What led to this breakup?
So I think, the whole purpose of the show is contentious debate, and the show works at its best when the two have genuine friction. And so I think for a number of years, they were able to, coexist really successfully for a while with Shannon basically being, the new partner, whereas Skip had been with Stephen A. Smith for a number of years at ESPN. The friction really boiled over during this past football season when they had a contentious debate about Damar Hamlin. I guess I wouldn't even call it a debate, a contentious segment.
So a lot of people are reporting, including Rob Parker and the Beige Rage. I'll get to him in a minute. I'm going to play that in a second. A lot of people are reporting that the feud or the alleged disruption in their relationship started with Damar Hamlin, with that whole situation, right? Now, I don't know if anybody remember anything that happened to Damar Hamlin, but Damar Hamlin is the guy that basically collapsed on the field and all of that other type of stuff, and it was a big deal, right? I don't believe that. I don't believe even a little bit that the contentious or the issue amongst them or between them has anything to do with it at all. Now, I'm just speculating. I'm giving my perspective, but I'm giving it based off of a couple different factors. A, if you go back and you look at all of the ways in which Shannon Sharpe has talked about Skip Bayless, he has nothing but praise, nothing but admonition. Also credits him for even giving him an opportunity to even be a part of what it was that they were doing over there at Undisputed in the first place, all right? For the people that don't understand, Skip Bayless largely came from, or he left ESPN because he used to have a segment with Stephen A. Smith, and he took a big bag. Now, they say Skip Bayless make well over 30 million, 35 in the $40 million range. I don't know. I'm going to have to confirm that. I'm going to stay on top of this for y'all that's in the chat. They say that Skip Bayless is getting a bag. That Skip has been busting down bags for a long time. Now, one thing that I will say about Skip Bayless is that I believe that Skip Bayless is going to be just fine. Skip Bayless is going to be just fine. Put together the show with Stephen A. Smith, did just great. Brought in Shannon Sharpe, who was not even largely a basketball pundit, but was a football guy and was able to make the transition and dedicate himself and be successful. But the one thing that I know about Shannon Sharpe, based off of what's being communicated on a regular basis and how hard his work ethic is Shannon leaves no bags on the table. Shannon does not let his ego, even though he does performative work on the TV screen, Shannon does not let his ego, from all accounts, from just looking at it from a visual, Shannon does not let his ego prevent him from being able to bust down a bag. Shannon is a bag chaser. And so you can't sit here and tell me that anything pertaining to anybody, including Damar Hamlin, is going to be the wedge that drives him away from Undisputed. I believe that Shannon Sharpe believes that there's bigger bags on the horizon. He has the unwavering support of Fox. How do I know this? Because Fox are the ones that's actually putting together and promoting and producing his Club Shay show. So y'all think that Club Shay is just Shannon and him doing it all on his own, and that's the end of the conversation. It's not. Club Shay is actually produced by Fox, which is also the producers of Undisputed on Fox Sports. And with Club Shay taking off and Shannon showing that he can actually do more than just sit on the panel and dispute what's going on with Skip Bayless, I think that Shannon now has the confidence to continue to go on and do other things. And he has largely decided that it's time for him to move on to bigger and better bags, possibly outside of Undisputed. That's what I believe. I believe this is 100% a money play, has nothing to do with his relationship with Skip Bayless whatsoever. But let's continue.
And at that time, I think it just became clear that Shannon had enough on the show. Basically,
I don't believe
the
that
way
to be
it
true.
works behind the scenes is I think Shannon probably felt that he deserved equal consideration as
Steve, what article did you read? I'm curious. I pulled up an article. I'm about to show that for y'all after I show this.
From that point, it became a matter of when and not if Shannon was going to move on from the show.
And the other part of this that you reported is that Shannon is expected to be out after the NBA Finals this year in June. So my follow-up question to all this is, what happens with this show Undisputed and Skip Bayless?
So the short answer is I don't know, but the long answer is my guess, just from observing these things for a while. I feel like look, there's no.
All right. I don't really care about what he feel like. I'm going to go over to this article and I'm going to share this with you guys because I want to mine this out. And I think that this is important in order for us to really add additional context to what's going on. So this is according to Sports Illustrated. All right. So Sports Illustrated is saying this. And let me just share my screen with you guys really quickly. Sports Illustrated is saying that Shannon Sharpe is leaving Undisputed and taking Club Shay with them. All right. Saying that. Let's move this over here. Actually, I don't want to move it over there. All right. So let me do this. Shannon Sharpe, an HBCU and NFL legend, will depart from Undisputed following the end of the 2023 finals. Also, Sharpe and the network are discussing his buyout for the show, including his award-winning podcast club, Shay. So, Shannon Sharpe has to buy himself out? Is that what this is saying? Shannon Sharpe has to buy himself out? That's what this is saying. Okay? Sharpe and his Undisputed co-host Skip Bayless had great chemistry during his tenure. In January, the two hosts had an on-air friction following Bayless posting a controversial tweet regarding Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin's injury. Bayless tweeted, "No doubt NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how this late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the talk show." Bayless clarified his statement but failed to apologize. The Pro Football Hall of Fame player Shannon Sharpe had an issue with his co-host's position regarding the tweet and did not appear on the show. According to Andrew of the New York Post, the Pat McAfee show. Okay. We'll get to that. We're going to get to that, Super. 1 second. I'm going to talk about the buyout. According to Andrew of the New York Post, the Pat McAfee show is planning a switch from FanDuel to ESPN for a 5-year, $85 million deal. McAfee, a former NFL player, has one of the most popular podcast shows with regular guests who would appear to break headline news. One of his most notable guests is New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. When Sharpe leaves Fox Sports, He has the potential to secure a lucrative multi-million-dollar deal with a growing network that values popular podcasts and personalities like him and Club Shay. His podcast included Deion Sanders, Terrell Owens, blah, 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 whatever. All right, cool. So let's break this down really quickly before we get over into the thick of things. Let's break this down really, really quickly, all right? So Shannon Sharpe probably has opportunities already on the horizon. He probably already has a deal in the making. He already has a deal in the making. And do not be surprised. Do not be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, if you see him over on ESPN, because Disney is looking to compete. I'm not even going to say ESPN. I'm going to say Disney, because ESPN is owned by Disney. Disney is looking to compete, and they are giving out the bag to all of these content creators that actually have proven themselves to already have a following and an audience. Let me tell you how this works, all right? The content creation game is very, very similar to the music game, and a lot of people don't understand it. Content creators are just like rappers now. They don't have A&Rs in music anymore. They don't develop talent naturally. You're not going to go out there and stand in front of a building and be rapping and spitting bars and then get a deal, and then they're going to mold you and put you with all of the great producers, and then they're going to teach you how to stand and dress you up and take you out to eat and take you on shows and then get you set off by aligning you with somebody that can then get you a feature, and then you're going to blow up, and then you're going to go and do your own thing and have your own career. That's not how the game works no more. In the music game, large companies are not looking to invest that type of money on something that may or may not pay out, especially with all of these new rappers going to jail. So what happens is they are looking for already homegrown talent that just needs that extra push to make them superstars. And that is similar to what it is that you've seen with Pat. And also what it is that you see happening with Shannon, right? Because people that already have a following in a put together show, the only thing that they have to do is roll out the red carpet and give them the bag. They don't have to produce them. They don't have to put together sets. They don't have to find a talent. They don't have to try to pair them up. They don't have to see whether or not they actually good for the show. How do they work in chemistry? Pat already has a product, and so all they're doing is giving them a budget to continue to do what it is that he's doing. And so I would not be surprised even a little bit if we seen Shannon go over to ESPN, or he get a deal with FanDuel or something like that. And one of the reasons why I think that the buyout, right, because Fox obviously has a vested interest in seeing Club Shay or Shannon Sharpe become successful, which is one of the reasons why they produced the show. So when you say buyout, I would guess, now I don't know for sure, and I'm going to continue to do my research, and I might even make a few phone calls. I would guess that Shannon probably already has a bag waiting for him, and that is what would allow for him to be able to have a buyout from Fox's vested interest in him as a radio personality and as a YouTuber, as a content creator. So let's get
Skip and Shannon.
Let's get Rob Parker.
Cold Pete.
Honest, I'm stunned by this news of Shannon Sharpe leaving Undisputed. I think it's a big loss for FS1. I thought they had, at least gotten to a point where Skip and Shannon could coexist. They were still doing the show great. And, but apparently they are not going to go on.
I remember the moment because I saw it.
Yeah.
And the moment that Skip said,
somebody in the chat said they've never heard of an employee having to buy him or herself out. I wonder what that means. Okay, so let me tell you what buyouts mean. Let's bring it back to music, right? A lot of times artists sign contracts, but then they don't fulfill their obligations with regard to that signed contract. So let's say, for example, let's take Shannon Sharpe and let's just use some imaginary numbers in order to illustrate our point, okay? Let's say Shannon has 3 years, $15 million left on his contract in order for him to continue to fulfill his obligations. And again, we just use made-up numbers in order to illustrate a point. Let's say Shannon Sharpe has 3 years, $15 million left on his contract in order for him to fulfill his obligations, right? And then let's say there's some incentives in there or whatever, so on and so forth. Okay, cool. Let's also bring it back to music. Let's say an artist has 3 albums and they're already a popping star. So one of the things that we've seen play out in music, the Lox, Diddy, Mace, they may have continued obligations on their contract. And so what you would do is you would negotiate a buyout. Even basketball players and sports people, they may have a certain amount of money guaranteed left on their contract, but in order for them to leave and go over to a competitor, right, then you have to be able to get a buyout, which basically is the company or whoever it is, the owner or whoever it is paying you or you have the contract with, giving you their blessing for you to leave your current obligation in order to go somewhere else. Okay? So that means that they have to negotiate whatever that deal is. Hey, you pay me this amount, and usually from a basketball perspective, what they say is, okay, listen, buy me out my contract. You're not going to be paying me anyway. You're going to be on the hook for the obligation in order to do so. What that would do is you give me a one-time payment, and then it opens up the budget and a salary cap for you to assign additional talent and not take the luxury tax hit in the future. So it saves the NBA team money. It allows for them to go out and get additional talent, and then it allows for the player to also go out and sign with another team and maybe try to win a championship. If you're talking about a record deal, right, a lot of these artists will say, listen, now I'm valuable and I don't make as much money as I think I should make because of the contract that I signed before. Well, they wasn't as valuable and the company was actually losing money by investing in them before they started selling records and doing really shows and becoming superstars. It was the machine that pushed them to be successful, right? And so what they do is they say, listen, I want to buy out my contract. And so they buy out their freedom, which allows for them to go independent or go and sign another deal in which they feel like is more lucrative. Somebody said it in the chat. Jay got it the hard way. Floyd bought out his contract and then he made $1 billion. What Floyd did was he bet on himself. Because a lot of people need that security because they're not as good, they're not as marketable, they're not as great, they don't have the skill set to understand and the longevity to become that successful long term. So because Floyd had the wherewithal and the business acumen and the talent and the dedication to buy himself out of the contract that he had with Bob Arum and Top Rank, then he went and made Mayweather Promotions and he linked up with Leonard Ellaby and all of that other type of stuff, right? And then he wound up betting on himself, in which he made way more money in the end. But it's a lot of people that need that guaranteed contract because they're not pulling in the numbers that they think that they can. And so it's really just a bet on yourself unless you're taking your talents to go and sign with somewhere else that see you as more valuable than what it is that they're paying you at your current job. So buying out your contract allows for you to basically void out the contract with the blessing of the people, and sometimes people even have a buyout clause in their contract. It allows for you to basically void the contract that you currently have in order to go and do whatever it is that you want to do, whether you want to bet on yourself, create your own product, or you can go and sign with somebody else that's willing to give you a bigger bag as a result of it. So that's basically what a buyout is. It doesn't necessarily pertain to regular everyday employees. It pertains to talent that then have contracts and obligations that they're supposed to meet. You understand what I'm saying now? All right, so let's continue.
To Shannon that he was jealous of Tom Brady. He was criticizing Tom Brady's play. And Skip basically said that like the criticism wasn't valid and the only reason you're criticizing Tom Brady is because you're jealous of him. I at that moment, Chris, I said that
I'm going to be reading super chat shortly. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat, because we got an Invest in Your Business series. And that, well, actually, we have the Invest in Your Business. I'm going to give you the seed money based off of your pitches and whether or not you got a good idea for y'all to be able to start y'all businesses inside of the Patreon. We got the meetup coming, and I got a video that I'm dropping for y'all tomorrow morning.
Those two just got separated. Like I did. Like at that moment. You remember, you know what I'm talking about. Am I right? That was a moment.
Yeah, I totally. And during that show, if you remember, Shannon took off his glasses.
Yep, and Skip said, "Don't take your glasses off,
or put your glasses.
Put your glasses back on." That's what he said.
And yeah, a lot of people didn't like that, and
that's all ego. I don't think it got nothing to do with ego. I don't think anybody actually foregoes the bag over ego. As a matter of fact, I would even go so far as to say it's entertainment. So I will be keeping my eye on this. I will be keeping you guys updated because, again, we talk about sports, we talk about politics, we talk about these hoes for the streets. But the one thing that we know is for sure, and two things is for certain, is that it always, every single time, it always comes back to the money.